Alright, we're back it seems. But it looks like this is a new stream session. And I'm waiting for my stream manager on Twitch to catch back up. Hey, okay, we're back. We're live. We have bitrate. We have 0 viewers. I wonder if my... bot's still not working. I'm also talking into the void, so I'm going to let people catch up for half a minute. See if anybody comes back in. Hey! No viewers. So it says 0 viewers on my Streamlabs. So anyway, as we were saying, Scallywag, you're filming an episode of something. What are you filming an episode of, if you don't mind me asking? And how did you find the channel? Do we know each other in another world, in another life? Had people talking to me before, and it said you only had 1 viewer. So we assume today will be showrunner. Oh. Yeah, Twitch is our internet has been an absolute arse. The last few days, weeks, but days in particular. Hey, Lizabelle! You do not know me at all. You were just scrolling through the art section looking for people not doing digital art. Fair. Well, it is lovely to meet you, Scallywag Jack. Thank you so much for the follow. It's super appreciated. I am a variety streamer. I do all sorts of art and games and things. At the moment, our stream lineup looks like Pokemon Tuesday, RimWorld Wednesday, Thursday, some kind of... Not that you're against digital art, you just like watching art get made. Yeah, that's fair. I kind of feel the same way. Like, I have a soft spot for traditional art because I make it. And I have a particular way of looking and working at things, and so I appreciate when others can do the same. I don't think that's weird at all. But yeah, anyway, so we do a like Minecraft / Valheim / some kind of crafty adventure-y type game. It's how you keep learning the physical art medium. Yeah, exactly. Watching other people do it, doing it yourself. These things are important. Yeah. I also do art streams randomly. I do need to start scheduling them a little bit better, just because it would be better if people who are here to see the art in particular knew when the art was happening. That would probably be for the best, I think. So I will be organizing something like that. But yeah, I do a little bit of everything. Sound like you and your schedule. Yeah, that sounds about right. I'm gonna have to go and give your stuff a look, absolutely. Because, yeah, we do sound like we do similar stuff, and I do this because I love it, so it seems like you're probably right up my alley in terms of content. At the moment, we are working on these cards. So each of these is going to be a physical card that we make. Let's see if we can get some more detail in these. We have 250 currently of these. So here are some examples of ones we've done previously. They just keep going. Yeah, so we've got a whole bunch of these working, and then I also do random other images. My Instagram, my bot's not working, so I'm gonna have to go and get it manually, which is annoying, but that's fine. Instagram. There I am. Oh. If you want to have a look through a random selection of my things, there's my Instagram that you can have a look through if you so please. These are sort of all-round different sorts of things. They started out as just like art cards for a like do an artwork every day prompt thing, and then they quickly developed from that into a series of developed artworks that I've used for a few different things. So I sell them on my Etsy store, and they are they have been used for like divination style, pagan, reading the future or the past kind of thing. So if that's your deal, if you like that kind of stuff, these work quite well for that, in more of an oracle than tarot type sense. And then for people who are not inclined that way, sort of spiritually, they work quite well as like story cards. So what I usually get people to do with them, and what I've done with them in the past, is use them as like writing prompts, or use them for D&D games and stuff, as a way of like building worlds and building characters, based on what you see on the card. So we actually went over an example of this not too long ago on the stream, but I'll go over it again. So we have these three cards here. So we'll go with the top one, this bottom one here, and then the one on the left. If you need to make a town, for example, in the D&D game that you're running, the top card might suggest that it's an agrarian, so a very farming sort of town, with a strong emphasis on community, like children and family and that kind of stuff. The card down the bottom might suggest a previous conflict or war, so there's a lot of, say, relics that have been left behind, or dangerous magics or objects or weapons or whatever that have been left behind. They occasionally go off, but what this says about the community specifically is that they dislike conflict now, having gone through a significant conflict and remembering that from their history. And then the last card might suggest that the relics that are found have a corrupting influence to them, that they cause danger, and so they're seen as being corrupting, so that anybody who sort of tries to dig up these things or bring conflict into the community is rooted out and cut out from the space. So this idea of like ripping the horn off someone, ripping the devil out of them. So that's, with three cards, we have now created an entire community and the beginnings of a story. You can do that with any of these cards, and there's 250 of them, so there's a lot of development that you could bring into that. That's kind of the idea of it. If you're using them as divination cards, then each of these cards has like a specific meaning or meanings, multiple, and you interpret them as you will. You are welcome to take my interpretations. There's quite a few of them on my Instagram, sort of earlier on in the piece. Or alternatively, it's heavily encouraged that you sort of find interpretations yourself within the cards. So this card in particular is around the idea of nostalgia and your youth, where you come from, and how that affects your life now. But if that doesn't fit with you at all because you grew up in the city or whatever, then this might be like dreams, or it might be play, or like childlike wonder, things like that. So the idea of interpretation is super important to how these cards are used, regardless of how you use them, whether you use them for divination or whether you use them for like game playing. So I hope that has illuminated somewhat what we're working on. Otherwise, they're just super pretty art cards. I am quite fond of these. That's why I've done so many of them. I enjoy the limited parameter thing. I find it super helpful with art that if you limit your canvas or if you limit your materials in some way, that often you will sort of skills whittling. Because that's always the thing that ends up becoming the downfall of sort of these grand ideas. That skills willing, a limiting factor becomes the way to free an idea. You like the idea? Wonderful. Thank you. Yeah, so the sort of the limiting of what you can use helps to bring out the creativity in some fashion. If you can only use a particular color, then you get really or shades of the same color and hues of the same color. You become really technical with how color is used and like shades and tone. If you're using only a specific space, like this space, then you get really funky with like placement and composition and stuff like that. So that's why I've enjoyed this so much, because all of them have to be within this sort of standard frame. And they're all about very specific sorts of ideas because they're supposed to play off each other, which has been fun. If you stick around my streams in future, I do a lot of shit talking. I do a lot of random rants about all sorts of weird and wonderful things. Mostly stuff in my life. I am a high school teacher, a qualified educator. I am an artist. I am pretty heavily trained artist, but I am super open to all different forms of art and all different forms of learning and like stages of development and stuff like that in terms of art. So I try not to be very gatekeepy about the whole thing, because I don't think that is useful or productive in any manner. And my streams are usually a weird eclectic mix of like gaming with friends, random storytelling, and then like making art. So if that is your jam, feel free to stick around. If you have any random questions or any things you want to say, please feel free to do so. If you have any art that you want to share, you can drop a link to, an Instagram or a portfolio, or whatever you happen to have on hand. If you want to chuck that in the chat, we do allow links. It doesn't really matter that much about content-wise, but if it's very borderline, If it's very not safe for work, just let people know before they click on it. There's some people who are at work watching this, so, or at least they were previously. So, Art Hype, hey Fractured, how you doing? Patty, my man, my homie. How'd your Minecraft stream go? I didn't manage to catch it because I was busy doing my own stream. So we played some Valheim before, and now we're just winding down with some art. So I'm just gonna get all of this done, hopefully before 2:30, and then we're finishing up. If my internet lasts that long. We've already had 2 crashes now, 3 crashes. Yeah, so living in the middle of nowhere is not good for streaming, gotta say. Yeah, it doesn't really help the whole streaming thing. Doing well, just chilling. You didn't end up playing Minecraft, okay. Oh, you just continued playing Deathloop. Way too interesting. Fair, man, fair. Yeah, watching you play through it, I'm kind of keen to give it a look myself now. Yeah, it did have that really interesting vibe of like different sort of idea that hadn't really been done before, or at least not done well. And I like games with really good aesthetics. Not that... well, I think this computer actually could handle it now, which is great, but not that any of my previous computers could. Used to do a lot of streaming off laptops and playing games off laptops, which really couldn't handle what I was putting out. All right, trying not to be too heavy-handed with the marker here, just because this is supposed to be sort of wispy, dreamy look there. Yeah, it's looking good. Yeah, it's really cool. Plus, the way you do particular things can make certain targets go to the same location, which makes life a little easier for you. And the aesthetic is awesome. Yeah. Yeah, I was getting that, having a look at, as you were doing the sort of the playthrough, the run, that like, what you did on each playthrough seemed to affect the next one. In that kind of like roguelite-esque thing, but like to a entirely different degree. And that's fascinating as an idea. I like roguelite-y type games. They're fun. And having a game that has like consequences for how you play, I think is really good. I'm not a huge fan of the games that are like tell you that you have choices and then just the choices don't lead anywhere. I think Mass Effect was the controversial one for that. It didn't matter what, for those who have played or haven't played and don't care. A little bit of a spoiler, but it didn't matter what you picked, because in the end you still ended up in the same situation and scenario, which kind of bugged quite a few people. Yeah, Mass Effect 3. There you go. Yeah, you could pick all the different situations you like, but you still ended up in exactly the same end game. And And boy, did that make some people unhappy. Yeah, that's one way to tell the story, I guess. Yeah, there you go. Music's still going. Good, good. Was I after an overlay set? As in, like, scenes and stuff? I would definitely not say no to one. But yeah, I don't know. I was just I'm working out exactly how. Yeah, I've been trying to sort of make some of my own, but I haven't gotten around to really sort of delving into it too much yet. But if you know of something, you're in some mood to do some graphic design. Oh, Jesus! You have already helped way too much, and I would absolutely not suggest that you have to. Or that you should. I know from myself being far too generous to other people that that if you want to do it, you're going to do it anyway. Because I do the exact same thing to all my friends, and that would be super awesome. And thank you so much if you wanted to, but do not feel you have to. You also have free overlay set up in your Discord. Cool. Okay. Much better. Let's go with that. But yeah, I've been looking at creating some panels, some panel icons, and some stuff for my Twitch. I'm working on setting up some digital art streams for creating some emojis. Doing some pixel art, and then also looking at trying to animate, because I've done some animation before around the scenes and transitions and stuff. But yeah, I'll absolutely go and have a look at your stuff, because that would be awesome, and might save me some time. To work off a template. Yeah. Thank you so much. You're too kind, man. Like, given way too much. They're buried up in the announcements tab. Alright, I'll give them a look there. So if everybody hasn't, go and check out Fractured Plays channel. My bot isn't working, so I'm gonna have to do this the ridiculous way, I think. There it is. Here's my attempt at a shout out. If you haven't, yeah, go and check out his channel. He is awesome. Does gaming, variety streams, a little bit of art here and there. Super wholesome dude. Amazing. Yeah, just great community around his channel as well. Like every time I've been in the chat, everything's been like super wholesome and super inviting. Yeah. Streamer goals. Right there. Yeah. But yeah, you absolutely should not be giving so much of yourself all the time, man. I know like that's just who you are, and that's awesome. But like, you gotta look after yourself as well. Like, careful not to burn out. I'm your art goals, am I? Okay, cool. As long as we can like do the back and forth thing. So what I was gonna say previously, and I haven't gotten around to like, because it's sort of only really been a day and a bit. But what I was gonna say, yeah, self-care is super important. It's way important for me as well. But what I was going to say before, I was going to PM you specifically, but I can just tell you here now. I'm going to do some commission work for you as like a thank you for like all your help with stuff. So let me know what you would like. Have a look at like my Instagram or something so you can see the kind of stuff I do. And then just let me know what you want, and I'll do something. And it'll be entirely your thing, so you can chuck it up wherever you like, and use it for promotions or for as part of your stream stuff, or if you just want to keep it in your house, I'll send you a physical copy as well as the digital, so you can have both. Because like that help out each other mentality is super important, and I go on these long rants about especially teaching at school about like different types of masculinity and different types of like people in communities, and how it's super important for men and for boys to have male role models who are that kind of like caring, supportive thing, whilst also still being masculine, while still being not that, like masculinity has to be pigeonholed of all those kinds of things, but like to have someone that people can identify as being like, okay, yeah, that's a masculine sort of person, but then or like that's sort of within the mold of the standard kind of masculine guy, but then also super supportive, like way into the like being a dad and being involved kind of thing, and then like and then supporting others and encouraging that kind of wholesome like togetherness, community. That's super big and important for me. And so you pretty well embody that, as I've seen. So yeah, I super want to support that. Definitely on the same page. Awesome. Glad I haven't misread it entirely. Kind of wishing I had another tea now, but I don't want to get up to make it, because that's a commitment to more time streaming, and I really should be trying to like cut it down a little. You try. You've been through a lot of rough times in your life. You try to help people through that, minimize it while also being part of normal. Living on the run as a kid and dealing with a lot of abuse made you want to help others rather than the alternative. No, hey, so I've talked about this a fair amount myself. More just with like friends and in the community and stuff, but like also a little bit on stream. Yeah, I've been through a fair amount of abuse and shit in my past as well. Not necessarily from my family, because my family is super supportive and awesome. And I know I'm crazy lucky in that regard, because I know so many people who their families just are not. But I have been through an awful lot of shit. And it is really that. You can sort of really go one of two ways. Either it spirals you out of control and then you become that to everybody else because it's that learned behavior kind of thing. Or you go entirely the opposite direction and you try and be super supportive to everyone else. But the problem with that I've found, and especially for men, but also for women as well, that like hyper super supportive thing is usually at the detriment of yourself. So you'll go out of your way to help others whilst neglecting yourself to a degree. And I'm pretty bad for that. My partner is constantly telling me off for trying to help everybody else whilst whilst not looking after myself. You can end up hardcore people pleasing. Yeah, exactly. I'm still not quite there, but I'm yeah, same. I'm working on it. I am very much a people pleaser, to my own detriment. All good, man. Oh, Lizzie Bell, you're the best. You're important. I have to look after you and everyone else. No, yeah. You are correct. I need to work on looking after myself more, because I am important. Just like everyone else. You're perfectly capable of looking after yourself. This is true. You are. I'm your husband. It's my job to support you. That's how it works. This is true. Can't support anybody if you don't look after yourself. And that's why self-care is so important, ladies and gentlemen. Self-care. Look after yourselves. Yeah, so self-care is majorly important. If you are not looking after yourself, you need to work on that. I'm just putting in the Weeping Willow lines at the back here and some sort of like faded detail in. Don't want to overdo it too much, but Still want to get some of the outlining in, just to sort of bring that definition back into the piece. That's looking good. It's looking good, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlefish. Yeah, so we live in a pretty small country town in New South Wales, and the schools that I have taught at previously and that I still occasionally do teach at, it's school holidays at the moment, and I am doing my best to get out of teaching, but where I'm at the moment, the communities around them have a pretty big emphasis on that kind of like hyper-masculine and very particular kinds of masculinity, which can be frustrating to deal with because it's often detrimental to the very people who are engaged with it. That kind of like, you have to like sport to be a man. You have to like hunting and killing things, and you have to like, you know, fighting and playing games and roughhousing and like all that kind of really sort of stereotypical, tropic types of sort of ideas of masculinity. And not to say that there's anything wrong with sports or hunting or playing games or, you know, shooting or whatever. Like all of that is perfectly fine and reasonable. It's when it's taken to the extreme and sort of held up as like the only way of being that it becomes a really big problem. This is probably not the music for this. Lose control? I don't think so. Oh, we've gotten out of the like the thing we were in before. Here we go. What's similar to snake hips? Yeah, so there's nothing wrong with those things individually. It's when they're taken to the extreme, and to say that like only that matters and nothing else, or to say that like that those things are signs of better or peak or value within what it means to be a man or even just a person in general. And I think that's wrong, because obviously those things aren't the be-all and end-all. And a lot of people, you know, don't like those sorts of things, and that's fine. They should be perfectly allowed to not like those sorts of things. But often the conversation becomes marred by, well, if you don't like X, then you're, you know, not a man or less of a man or whatever. And there's a lot of that in this community. that we live in, like specifically the area that I teach. So that can be difficult to come across. But it's also particularly difficult to see the people kind of stuck in the middle of it, the like boys and girls, and even like some of the other teachers and parents and stuff who like clearly don't agree, but are kind of browbeaten into subscribing or tacitly consenting to that sort of mantra, or way of thinking, because they don't see a way of fighting against it, or because they've just had so many people so often tell them that this is the way that it has to be, that they sort of just like, yeah, okay, fine, whatever, and go along with it. And like part of the problem with this idea, and I talked about this the other day. Sorry, I'm going back to rambling on things, but like, is that like, it's not just the sort of oafish, buffoonish man, the sort of standard, you know, hunts and fishes and drinks beer and, you know, doesn't really like his wife or kids and works as a truckie or whatever. This is all just stereotyping on my behalf, so apologies, but like, it's not just that kind of person that does that. And that's where it becomes a problem, because you'll have like young girls or like older women or whatever, or like even the sort of the like non-traditionally masculine guys sort of agree with and confirm or even lead the charge of these kinds of things, of saying like, okay, well, you're not enough of a man if you don't like these things, if you don't like sport, or if you don't, you know, enjoy killing, or blah blah blah. Like, I was talking about vegetarianism at school. My partner is a vegetarian, Lizzie Bell, and she has previously been vegan. And this wasn't even a discussion about veganism, like sort of the next step of vegetarianism, but like just vegetarianism on its own was enough for these people to like freak out and be like, oh my god, you're a vegetarian? And I'm like, no, but like, this is a discussion that, you know, reasonably should be had. And like, if someone is, it's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And they're like, oh, well, you know, you wouldn't really be a man if you were a vegetarian. And these are like, you know, 13 to 16-year-old girls, and boys as well, but it was the girls leading the charge. And that discussion, welcome back. And that discussion is quite harmful, especially to the other young boys who are around, because they hear that kind of thing and they're like, okay, this is what society expects, kind of thing. And if there's no one in the room to push back against that, then that is standard. That's what society says and thinks. And they come from a community where that is pretty heavily enforced all around them. You're basically a veggie, but you love chicken. Fair. I don't think I could be a vegetarian, because I love the taste of meat too much. My partner has tried many a time to encourage me to have less meat, and I agree, and I have worked towards having less meat in my diet, because it's better for me, it's better for the environment, but meat is super tasty, and I enjoy it. So I don't think I'll ever be vegetarian, like fully vegetarian, but I could go vegetarian for a little while. I think I could go vegetarian like a couple of days a week or something like that. Like, I have nothing against it, and I'm super supportive of people who are, I used to cook, and I still regularly do cook, like 2 meals, one for me and one for my partner, so that she can have vegetarian or vegan food while I have a meat alternative. I know you don't ever expect me to become a vegetarian, but yeah, eating some meat-free is good. You feel that? Yeah. Yeah, I'm super pro vegetarianism. Whenever like kids at school bring it up, I'm like, yes, that's an awesome thing to do if you can do it. But then I'm also like, but also like, whatever you choose to eat is fine. Like, don't harass one another for what you eat, and recognize that like all of it is valid. All of that shit is valid. That usually ends up being a pointed argument at meat eaters, who then go, oh yeah, vegans, you don't have to, like, they'll tell ya. And I'm like, well, no, because you're the one freaking out over people not eating meat, and that's their choice. So that's usually a discussion that we have to have. But that was even in city schools, not just like out country way. You actually think that just meat-free meals a few times a week is the most productive things people can do, because expecting all or nothing is shitty, and little things you can do are always better than nothing. Absolutely. It's also more realistic, like, which is like, it's basically the argument you're making, that like people push back against this sort of like all or nothing argument. Do I want to become famous? I don't think I do. Yeah, that kind of all or nothing thing really doesn't work with most people, because people don't like ultimatums, and people don't like being told what to do. They kind of have to come to things naturally. And having meat-free days is a way better way of doing it, because it introduces the concept to people in a way that's on their own terms. And so they're more likely to actually honestly adopt it in the end. Quite a few of the people that I know who are vegetarian because they started cutting back. Ban term big follows. It will get rid of the bot. That's a good idea. I'll have to write that down. It's on my list of things to do. And big follows. Hey. Yep. My Lizzie Bell, she's a smart cookie, gotta say. I definitely picked the right one. You have a lot of stream advice? Okay. I will absolutely hit you up with that at some point. We'll have a Discord chat or something, and you can filter all your wisdom to me. This is gonna take ages. Ugh. Why did I choose to do this one? It's already 2:30. Oh, I'm a fool. unfortunately, if I don't finish this, I'm gonna sit in bed and be like, oh, could have gotten it done. Charmander and Noctis are currently listening to your stream because they're refusing to go to sleep as well. Fair. I really should be sleeping soon. This is true. Okay, I'm gonna stop with the squiggly line ones, and I'm gonna go to these ones. When Charlotte gets woken up by Bubba, she's full of energy and refuses to sleep. Yeah, children. I don't know, man. I don't know how you can even deal with kids. Children are not for me. I did primary school teaching once for 3 days. I made a whole class of kids cry. 26, 27 kids in a class, and I had, by the end of the day, every single one of them all at once crying. So yeah, I'm pretty certain that I'm not supposed to have kids. I think I would actually make a really good dad, but that is not my life. That is not for me. I am super pro people who do it, and huge props to you for doing it. But it is not something I could do, I don't think. I've got my beautiful fur baby, and that is enough for me. Spend my life traveling the world instead. You want to get into primary school teaching? You couldn't be a high school teacher. As a warband leader, you have to do that anyway, yeah. But working in kinder and having 2 kids, occasionally babysitting pre-COVID is a lot of work. It absolutely is. High school teaching is a special kind of hell. Yeah, fur babies are always good. High school teaching is a special kind of hell, but when you get used to it, you can kind of manage your way through. And I much prefer it to primary because it's the thing of... the kids at that point are usually old enough to start reasoning, and you can reason discussions with them in a way that I've found you can't really do to sort of primary school age kids. Primary school age kids you can reason with, absolutely. You can discuss things with them, but they're not self-reflective enough at that point that you can sort of really get down to the flaws and the reasons why they do things without it either feeling like a personal attack or without them just entirely not understanding. It might be that I'm just not as adept with the younger kids. I'm not in touch with the younger kids. But then I'm not great with the older kids either, so hey. I don't know why I'm a teacher half the time. I do not like teaching. It is not for me. I really enjoy the act of teaching. I really enjoy the subjects I teach. I'm a religion and art teacher, trained, but I also teach literally everything. I teach science and I don't really enjoy maths as much, but I teach maths as well, English, history, and all that is super fascinating. I enjoy it. But yeah, it's the actual dealing with the kids is not so much for me. You disagree. Primary school and early education is way more intense. You have to be ridiculous amounts of patient. Be slow in your conversations. Yeah, that's it. I don't think I would have the patience. I barely have the patience for high school kids. I don't think I would have the patience for little uns, unfortunately. I mean, fortunately for me, I guess, because I don't have to do it. But yeah, super big props to people. You'd love to be a history teacher, medieval Renaissance. Yeah, okay, cool. So you'd be ancient history style deal. Your So you've done early childhood education. Have you done that as like a degree, or just like working with um, a preschool? Because the education degrees, while a little torturous in terms of like time management, aren't overly onerous academically wise, and they're pretty well supported government wise, so you don't have to like pay a whole lot. You had to sit there for 40 minutes once explaining why a child lost a Beyblade battle. Yep, that sounds about right. I've once sat down and explained to a child for 30 minutes why punching someone in the head was not the appropriate thing to do. But I have a feeling that's a very different sort of discussion. I also have a feeling that the high school aspect of teaching is probably a little bit more dangerous than the primary school or kinder. The kinder one, I guess, would be concerning sort of medically, that like you have to deal with people with a range of issues that potentially can't explain those issues very well to you or their symptoms. And that would be difficult, because we have that with some of the younger kids in high school, like the sort of just come into year 7 can't really explain their issues when they come up, and that can be quite a problem for us because we're not super well trained to deal with that kind of thing. You have a diploma right now, but you want to move forward to further studies. You've only been in the industry for 2.5 years. Before that, you were a deli manager with 11 years. Wow, cool. And you're a qualified graphic designer, film, 2D and 3D animation, sound design, and visual effects. Cool. Then you went into teaching afterwards. Biggest thing is medical stuff, along with additional needs. Yeah. So that's one of our big ones as well. Is like, special needs and stuff like that and like learning support is super difficult. I was discussing earlier on in the stream that kind of stuff. You wanted to be an archaeologist? Oh, that's awesome. Nathan Drake vibes. Yeah, absolutely. That's cool. Yeah. Teaching qualification, if you can do it, and if you're like pretty good with pre-kinder kids, I don't see why you wouldn't be good with primary school age kids. Like absolutely do it. There is a need for teachers, and specifically male teachers, in the industry. I would always caution and advise that most schools are not the most supportive, and the kind of issues that you are saying you had with your preschool that you worked at, there is going to be that and more in any other school you go to, because teaching is not superly highly valued, it seems like, in our current society, both within the industry itself and then outside of it by like parents. But if you're lucky, you'll find a school that's super awesome, and a admin and principal that are supportive of their teachers. And then hopefully you find a good area with a good school, and have lots of really supportive, helpful parents. It's a lot of work. Teaching is a lot of work, and it's only really being made more and more work by like buy all of the admin stuff and things like that. You've had to deal with some great situations so far. During COVID, you never felt more like a babysitter in your life and treated horribly by parents who just don't want men in the industry. Yeah. Yeah, 100% that. So it's absolutely that. That doesn't get any better as you get further up in education. But in addition to that, in addition to the problem of like parents not wanting males in the classroom and not wanting those sorts of interactions and things like that, additionally, it's then your fault if anything goes wrong. So like if the kid's not learning well, it's your fault. If the kid misbehaves, it's your fault. If there's an altercation between the kid and someone else, it's your fault. And that usually involves a lot of swearing and some lengthy calls, and then usually principal mediation and all sorts of other things. Not to put you off though, I'm very jaded about education because I've been in it for 8 years plus now, and I have not been treated well. Almost, and actually being stabbed a few times, various different death threats, some very awful situations, sexual harassment, and various different assaults against me by various different people. It's not great. It's not great. But there are also wonderful aspects of teaching, and there are wonderful communities if you can find them. The big reason why you haven't continued your study yet is mainly due to online studying, and you couldn't do that. You couldn't do the online as in it was an online course and you'd struggle with the online aspect of it, or as in you don't have the time to not do online stuff. So those are two very different issues. Yeah, it's a terrible mentality for people to have, but that's the way it is. You feeling jaded yourself? Okay, good. I'm glad we're in good company and I'm not just like scaring you out of your potential dream job. Although you're doing really well with streaming, so you know, maybe you're gonna be the next, I don't know, PewDiePie or something. Be one of them internet celebrities. You tried to have a parent put a fake claim against you, which thankfully wasn't there on the day they claimed you did something, and you had the cameras to prove it. The parent ended up apologizing, saying she doesn't want a male looking after a kid, and that was after 9 months being in the industry. I've had, situations akin to that kind of thing, and it never gets better. It's fucking awful and rough, and it's bullshit that would even happen. I feel you, man. What you gonna do? You struggle to online study. You learn better in the classroom with discussion. Yeah, that's fair. Most of the online ones also have like online discussion sections of the course, I guess. But yeah, it's a sort of a very different beast to being in person. So I totally get that. I guess you just sort of have to like look and see if you can find a course that's not in person, not online, I guess, or at least has online sections of the course, if it's not all of it. You'll have to take streaming off. You need consistent average. Yeah, that's fair. Well, hopefully, it picks up. You clearly got a community backing. You've got people who are interested enough in what you do, and you've got enough people helping out with that. So as long as you can keep building that community and keep building that sense of not just that it's an individual stream and that you're doing things, but that you as a group are doing things together, because I think that's what helps keep people around. That's alright. I'm pretty distracted with this art stuff, so conversation is moving perfectly fine. Also, to everybody else who's sitting in the chat, you are welcome to join in. I want to feel like I'm just ignoring everybody else, but if you're all just happy listening, then I'm happy to keep rambling on. Yeah, that's it, and that's what's awesome about your community that I've seen thus far. The charity thing is super good. I wanna get into doing some stuff like that. I wanna do some charities for men's mental health and male victims of domestic violence and abuse and things like that, and then just mental health in general, which is super important. Animals, RSPCA, it's a big one. So I'll be doing some charity streams at some point. But yeah, just having a lot of people around who can help support and push friends and followers and community back and forth, I think is super important, so that even if you can't consistently be on all the time, there's at least something happening all the time, so it always feels like everybody's catered to. Is a good one. What time is it? 2:45. I just really want to get this done. Oh. So you said Monday was potentially going to become a impromptu subathon thing. Is that correct? Because I think that's a good idea. What with subs being cheaper at the moment, the sale going on, and then people still in lockdown. Speaking of lockdown, our tiny town, has come out of lockdown today. We're on old restrictions, back to old restrictions. But the two towns nearby, we can thank your boy Moonlight for that. Yeah, I will. Yeah, so we're out of restrictions, but the two nearest towns, which are our two big towns nearby, are still in lockdown. If you visit those towns, for whatever reason, you have to follow the lockdown rules of those towns for 14 days when you come back. Which is great, but it's insane. And you'll have to suffer through Bean Boozled. Oh. Is that the one with the jelly beans that are all funky flavors and some of them are awful? Yeah, it's so weird. I do not understand New South Wales government, their anything really, but their plan with COVID is just insane. I was making a joke in your chat earlier today, and I might have been yesterday, but at some point, about Scott Morrison had basically said about New South Wales, because we were planning on opening up, and he was like, yeah, people will die, but at least you can attend the funeral. Who the fuck says that? Yeah, it's all disgusting flavors. Gladys Spin Chicken, Butter Chicken herself. I do not know. I mean, I do know it's all just like trying to get along the side of big business, but like, I don't understand any of the decisions that she makes. They're insane. She is a mad woman. It's so fucked up. Yeah, it is so fucked up. It's a special fun kind of crazy, for sure. Special kind of crazy. Why are these people running this country? Because we voted for them. Well, not us in particular, because I definitely didn't vote that way. But yeah, our community decided that these would be the best people to run the country for us. And they were wrong. They were really, really wrong. And hopefully at the next election, they will recognize this and do something about it. But I'm pretty sure they won't, because Green's bad. Labour bad. Yeah. I figured that was the case, but I didn't want to speak for you. Oh, we're coming to the end. I think we're almost done. Getting there, getting there, getting there. Scotty from marketing, scummo, won't get in. I mean, I'd be surprised if he did. Given how poorly everything has gone, it would take some catastrophic amnesia on the part of very many people for him to get in entirely unscarred. It could happen. It absolutely could happen. But I am holding hope that Australia is smarter than that. I am still quotient of the idea that they won't, because I'm a realist most of the time, but I'm trying to be hopeful. Yeah, going on holidays during the fire. That whole fiasco, the whole fire fiasco, was just insane. Like, not understanding consent in any way, by forcing people to shake his hand and be around him. All of the money that he said was going to them, and all the charity funds that he organized, didn't end up going to any of those people. So he essentially just assaulted them and then didn't give them any support. So it was literally all a photo op. Is just heinous of a thing. And yet most people won't remember that when it comes to the polls. But they hopefully will remember the COVID thing, because at least that's recent. Or more recent. Tia has just opened the back door and she's letting all the cold in. It's currently 2 degrees outside and she's letting all of that cold in. He's actual human trash. Yeah, a little bit. There's a lot of those going around though. Have I seen your high stakes poker vid? I have not. Is this in your VODs? Twitch DMs. All right. All right, I'll have to give that a watch. You're gonna make a pirate LARP dad joke series on TikTok and Instagram. That's amazing. I'm gonna have to give that a watch after I finish the stream. For sure. Feel free, if you want to, link anything in the chat. Instagram, TikTok, whatever. I am super big on people sharing their content on my channel. If you've got something you want to share, absolutely share it. All right, I think we're done. It will actually make me cringe. Awesome. Looking forward to it. All right, here is where we're at. So we got these set up here. This is actually a tattoo on my wife that I designed for her. And then there's down here. There we go. That's a little better. Oh, I can see a bit, but I missed. We're not done yet. God damn it. Almost there. Home stretch. And then I can finally go to bed. Alright, fixed it up. There we go, much better. Oh, I should make a custom deck of many things. That is absolutely... I'll put it over here. Custom deck of... I don't know if you were here when I was explaining these cards, what these cards are. I have 250 of these. So I'll show some examples that we also have here. So like these ones. Let's take it so that it's actually in the light. There we go. And then these ones. And then this. So they're all like hugely different and random, but a lot of them sort of interact with each other, or sort of like two sides of the same coin, or sort of a similar idea in a different way. And the whole idea behind these cards that I made originally, they were a sort of a drawing prompt. Do an artwork every single day. I soon failed that and didn't do an artwork every single day, but I made a bunch of them, and then turned them into like a divination deck. So they used kind of like oracle cards as opposed to tarot cards. So they have a set meaning, but they're very interpretive. So you come up with your own meaning for them, and you sort of play that against what the other cards are that come out. So you might get like draw 3 cards, and those 3 cards together tell a story, and that story is in some way relevant to your life or what your future will hold or something like that. What I've also used these for, which is why this reminded me, is I also use them in D&D as like story prompt cards. So on the fly, making characters or making settings and things like that. So like the idea I was talking about earlier on in the stream was like, if you take these 3 cards, so the top one here on the right hand side, the bottom one on the right hand side, and the bottom one on the left, you can make a town with a full backstory behind it just off these 3 cards. So you take the first one and you go, okay, it's kind of like an agrarian-esque, like a farming town that's really big on family. So they're very community focused. The second card is about this kind of conflict or this war that has happened previously, and so there's all these relics, these dangerous magic items, or these dangerous weapons that are left behind, and the community itself is super against conflict now because they've had to deal with this conflict previously that caused so much issue, and then the sort of the flow-on effect from that is now that they have to deal with the fallout of this, and so they're trying to move on. So they're very anti-conflict. And then the last card is about like rooting out corruption. So the idea of like these relics, these conflict relics, bring with them more conflict because they're weapons. So they're only made to bring conflict, to destroy things. So anybody who finds them or holds them has to be rooted out, has to have the horn ripped off, kind of thing. And so from 3 cards, you now have an entire story, an entire backstory for a town. But you can also take that in terms of like divination aspects, which is where the sort of the pagan spirituality thing comes into it, which is my deal. And these cards are like, this one is about like your history and your childhood and where you've come from, and how that aspect of your life now influences your future life. If that doesn't connect with you, there's heaps of other meanings that could be. This could be imagination or dreams. It could be connecting to your childlike sense of wonder or whatever. Again, this kind of the idea of like conflict in the past, or like letting things be overgrown. So like neglect as an idea, or alternatively as putting peace first, like taking away conflict, things like that. So the cards have multiple meanings, and based on what you pull, it says something about you or your life or something like that. So at Quest, I've done a whole bunch of readings. My wife does readings based on these cards as well. And there is 250 of them, so we've got a long time to work through all of this stuff as I'm cleaning them up and making them look nice. But it is now 3 o'clock, and that means I think we raid someone, and then I go and sleep. So let's have a look. Let's have a look on the Twitchy Doos. If there's anyone that I specifically want to raid, and there is. This lovely human being is absolutely someone worthy of a raid. So we'll just get past the ad. There we go. Yeah, she's doing art at the moment. So let's go and give her some love. I hope you've all had an awesome time with us. Thank you so much, Frax, for joining us. I will let you know. I will send you a DM. Yeah. Super thank you for joining me. Super thank you for all your help. Super thank you everybody else. Remember self-care, ladies and gentlemen. I don't think my bot is working still. So this probably won't work. It won't. That's all right. I'll get it next time. But yeah, thank you all for joining us. You guys are awesome. Love you all so much. Might be an art stream tomorrow, but we'll see. Sort of early afternoon. Otherwise, over the weekend, there'll probably be something. And then our regular Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday next week. All right. Thank you all so much. Bye-bye.